Cause I love the Lord, He heard my cry. Hey y'all, this is your girl Latoya. If you don't know who I am, my name is Latoya. I'm a 30-something-year-old black woman trying to figure it out. And the it that we're trying to figure out is Jesus. Cause I love the Lord, He heard my cry.
Go ahead, Nene. Hit me one more time with it. Go ahead.
Then when they just want to pause on you. Yes. Yes. I said, The Lord came down and spoke to me.
As a Southern black woman, I know for a fact, black people love Jesus.
When I think of His blessings, what He's done for me, think of His blessings, how He set me free.
They love it so much that it's reflective in different medias. So today we're going to talk about the Jesus archetype. The Jesus archetype is a figure who makes a sacrifice for the greater good of other characters. The archetype was created by Carl Jung and explores the following traits: performance of miracles, manifestation of divine qualities, healing others, and displaying kindness and forgiveness, fighting for justice, being guided by the spirit of the Father character and the character's own death and resurrection. Christ figures are often martyrs, sacrificing themselves for a larger cause. So now we're going to explore the theory in 4 different medias. First, the book A Love Song for Ricki, the movies Eve, Bayou, and the new hit Sinners, and the show Lovecraft Country. So first, we're going to talk about A Love Song for Ricki and the character Miss Della. So A Love Song for Ricki is about finding an everlasting love. We have Miss Della, who was a 96-year-old Southern belle, widower who moved to Harlem, New York, and became the surrogate grandmother to the book's namesake, Ricki Wilde. In spoiler alert, Miss Della was the daughter of Felice, who in February 29, 1929, committed suicide and cursed her lover Ezra to be immoral. So now I'm going to read a passage in the book where the character talks about her mother, Felice. She says, I suppose I've always been sort of angry with her. You can't help but hold it against a person, you know? I can't imagine being a mother and leaving my child behind. She sighed, her cloudy eyes staring down at her cup. She's a hole that's never been filled in my life, so I've always vowed to buy this building one day. Maybe get some answers, feel closer to her, stop feeling blue about her. New York is a moody town. I've learned this since moving here. It requires a certain armor, a resilience that must come naturally. Felice might not have had it. Looks like to me she had a touch of the ups and downs, or what people today would call mood swings or bipolar or something like that. Borderline personality disorder? I'm no doctor, obviously, but you learn a few things after being married to one for over 70 years. Her expression was far off, thoughtful. The apple doesn't fall far, I reckon. I suffered the blues my whole life, but medication evens me out. My mother was born too early to get the right treatment, or any treatment at all. So, obviously, in the book, Felice died when Miss Della was quite young, and so she wasn't able to really get to know her mother. She was raised by her grandmother, and then she married her husband when she was like 15, 16, and married him and moved to Atlanta. So on a random night in February 2024, Ezra meets the love of his life, Ricki Wilde, and is tasked with trying to reverse the curse and also save Ricki's life. It was the generous act of Miss Della who sacrificed herself so that not only was the curse reversed, but Ezra and Ricki were able to live a long life. Miss Della provided the Christ figure archetype because she displayed forgiveness to her mother and Ezra. She gave Ricki space to be her creative self when her family was not able to, and sacrificing herself so that Ezra and Ricki could move on beyond what happened in 1929. Also, I'm going to read another passage, which was a letter that she wrote to Ezra and Ricki before she herself. Dear Ricki and Ezra, now stop it, Ricki. Don't be sad. I was ready to go. I've lived a beautiful life. I experienced great love. The one thing my mother and grandmother wanted but never had. I felt guilty about that for being the lucky one. I can't think of a noble cause than to die for love. You see, love should never hurt. Rejection, abandonment, cruelty, so forth, those things hurt. But love itself, no. Ricki and Ezra, I can't stand by and watch you hurt when I could sacrifice myself to save you. Promise me that you choose to love each other hard every day and that you'll pass it on. This will be my legacy. I always wondered what my purpose was, and you gave it to me, Ricki. Being your grandmother has been one of my greatest joys. Thank you. That's all for now. Off to see my sweet doctor again. Always, Miss Della, your new angel. So, when I first heard this, because at first I had this as a audible, it made me cry. In fact, I'm like fighting tears. And I was so moved by this story that I actually bought the physical copy. And but I'm not gonna hold you. Miss Della was the star of the book. She really showed what love and sacrifice was, and showed how it could be personified. When I first read the book, I was so moved by Miss Della because she was so selflessness, and it really showed like how to like give love. And in my opinion, that really is what Christ was all about. So in my opinion, she was the Christ archetype in this particular story. So now we're gonna move on to Eve's Bayou. I love this movie so much and can recite every line like I'm in it. It's funny because my friends and I have an inside joke where we'll say the lines, "Why won't you talk to me?
Why won't you talk to me?"
When one of us are mad at each other because it's so silly and we automatically laugh, but we got that from Eve's Bayou. And after reading a love song for Ricki Wilde, I saw a lot of reviews comparing it to Eve's Bayou. So I wanted to do a video of some sorts of comparing the two, and I was able to get this. So if you don't know, Eve's Bayou is about perception and memory and following the coming of age of a young black girl, Eve. The character we're going to examine is Lewis. Now, he was something else. In fact, he was a low down dirty dog. I mean, roof a dog.
When I tell you these niggas ain't shit, please believe me. They gon' fuck on anything. These niggas way too easy. Good for nothing, low down dirty dog. I'm convinced. Next time you see your mama, tell her how she raised a bitch.
Of all the characters that I'm exploring, he is the most complicated. He was a womanizer who likes to drink. He may have had inappropriate relations with his daughter.
Okay. Whatever that means.
We can talk about that later. But he did sacrifice himself, though he was arrogant until his last breath. Lewis presented himself as the Christ archetype because he was a healer, being a doctor in the 1960s in Louisiana, which was a profession a lot of black people were not able to be in those times. And when he died, it did set the curses of his family free, as El Zora told Roz to look at her children, and in 3 years, everything will be okay.
In 3 years' time, you will be happy again. 3 years. Look to your children.
Though we did not see that, one can assume that the children of Louise Batiste were able to elevate themselves because of the sacrifice he made. Lewis offered forgiveness to Eve in the letter to Moselle for the part she played in his death, he told her, "I still owe you that Dan."
Tell you what, from now on, we'll dance at every party, right?
To advise that he will always be there and they will meet again in the afterlife. Louis also set his sister Moselle free to let go of her past and embrace the blessings in front of her. Though I think Louis was incredibly complicated, he was the archetype because he was sacrificed for the greater good of his family. Now, moving on to Sinners. This movie literally has me in a chokehold. I'm obsessed with everything from the direction, the costumes, to the acting. It's literally my personality right now. Like, my TikTok is full of Sinners, and it's just really something like I've never seen before, and I'm just so moved by it. If you have not seen the movie, please do yourself a favor and watch it ASAP. This is the movie of the year for sure. I can see this movie multiple times, and every single time I am taken away with something new. Honestly, I could put a few characters in the Christ archetype category, but today I'm going to focus on Delta Slim, played beautifully by Delroy Lindo.
Is that Delta Slim?
I'll give you $20 to come play at our juke tonight.
Delta Slim's way of telling musical stories is a reflection of humanity.
Blues wasn't forced on us like that religion. We brought this with us, Mahone.
Hey! Y'all hold your hands now!
It's magic what we do. It's sacred.
Woo!
And big.
Hold your hands!
I will always love Delroy Lindo so much for playing the dad role in Crooklyn, which is one of my absolute favorite films of all time. I would definitely talk about it at some point, but I love Crooklyn and I love him in it. But let's talk about Delta Slim. When I watched the film the first few times, I thought of him as the comedic relief.
And what is it we supposed to be doing?
Being kind to one another. And being polite. Now
he reminded me of some of my drunk uncles. However, the more I watched both the movie and his interviews, I found that Delta Slim was much more than that. He was the characteristics of the Christ archetype. Delta Slim performed miracles with his music. He is known around the Delta for his music and how he can move people. He is also the one to tell Preacher Boy that the music is what ties us to our history and to the future. For this film to only take place over 24 hours, Delta serves so much to Preacher Boy, being a mentor, affirming him in his gift, and also letting him know that if anyone makes it throughout the night, it's going to be Preacher Boy. The monologue in the car was the first insight on how much Delta Slim had to sacrifice to be his current self.
What are you prepared to sacrifice for your freedom? And if it's not a concept that you feel really exists, then what does exist for you in terms of how you live your life?
Going from the high of performing and making money to seeing his friend get lynched. You have no choice but to feel the pain that was inflicted on him as he was humming. He made the ultimate sacrifice in the end, slitting his wrist when he knew that that would give everyone, in particular Preacher Boy, more time to get away from the vampires. Delta Slim was funny, talented, but he was also a hero. So he was definitely the Christ archetype in this film. So now we're gonna talk about Lovecraft Country.
Little boy from the south side of Chicago, the only tourist to get to do that.
This story is about my father
and the secret birthright that's been kept from us.
You going after it? We're gonna need a car.
Who's gonna stay there, Tick?
This is family business. And families stay together.
and we're going to be talking about the character Atticus. First of all, let's talk about the show. It completely blew me away in 2020 and kept me sane during the craziness of the pandemic. It was fresh, something I've never seen before. The whole show has so many things that could be explored and talked about, but let's focus on Atticus Tick Freeman. He was the chosen one, period. It was literally in his DNA to be the hero, and it came with a great deal of sacrifices. In episode 2, the white people were trying to sacrifice him for their secret society of wizards, but the ancestor said, and stopped it. She literally told him the answer is in his DNA. During the duration of the show, Tick fought for justice for the people in his life, being a security force when the white moms was trying to prey on Lady's house to help his cousin after being attacked by Topsy and Bopsy. Now that episode scared the out of me. It was so scary. I only seen that particular episode once because it was so scary. He also forgave his uncle turned father George and father turned uncle Montrose after understanding their history and ultimately being the hero of their story. And Tick had to sacrifice greatly. It was honestly his purpose. His sacrifice protected his family and stopped Christina and white people from using magic. So, I say all that to say I love Tick. Not necessarily the person who plays Tick, but I thought that Tick was an excellent character. And yes, the Christ archetype was presented in these different medias because the idea of a sacrificing is a common theme in the Black experience. To be Black in America is to endure great sacrifices. I think that's why so many people are Christ followers, because they are able to connect to him because he made the ultimate sacrifice. The Black experience is not an even playing field. The success of one generation comes at the hands of the sacrifice of previous ones. I think about my great-grandparents, my grandparents, my parents, and all the sacrifices they made. Hell, I even think about myself and all I had to sacrifice and is sacrificing. The fact of the matter is people die, and a lot of times it is to bridge the gaps of the people coming after them. So, let me know what you think. Have you thought about the Christ archetype? Do you think that this theory could be applied to other characters or other films, movies, books, etc.? Let's talk about it. And let me know what you think about this video. So, thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye.